Hello, welcome back. I feel like it's been a while since I did a fully just sat down video. I'm excited for this one because summer is coming up and that means we can chat all about my summer knit and crochet plans, patterns that I like, projects that I want to work on. And yeah, I always love doing these sort of plans, roundup videos ahead of the seasons to just get my thoughts straight, you know? I'm realising now in this video my arm is looking a bit yellow. I didn't really think this through, but I had some laser removal done here on Tuesday, so it's a little bit bruised. Please just ignore that. I realise that's not like the prettiest looking situation. Funny filming this video the day that I am because it's actually horribly rainy and windy and grey outside, but I am doing this maybe a little bit prematurely because summer doesn't actually start until the end of June. However, I am just excited to think about new projects and things that I want to work on over the upcoming months. I'll be chatting about some very project and pattern specific things, but also just generally things that have been inspiring me recently and that I think are going to influence the decisions that I'm going to make for my projects this summer. I've actually found myself recently thinking more about what defines my personal style and the different outfits that I like to wear, especially in the summer. Summer is one of my favourite seasons to dress for, and a very helpful tool that has helped me not only plan out my projects but also my personal style is Milanote, who are also the sponsor of today's video. So you can imagine Milanote as your digital corkboard, kind of like the one I have behind me, where you can collect all your thoughts and elements and ideas needed to bring a project to life. So I've got my personal style board here on Milanote, and this mainly entails a big Venn diagram as well as some subboards and columns. Very helpful is the web clipper tool to bring images from Pinterest or anywhere else straight into my board. I found there was an overlap between some of the style categories, so I either added some additional images to visually show this overlap, or in the case of the sort of cool / cute section, I created another subboard. I've also found really helpful to add links to people whose style I often look at when I'm out of ideas for outfits and who to me sort of best reflect the different areas of my style. Then on the left, I've listed my top priorities when it comes to clothing and outfits. I'm also keeping a list of basic and go-to clothing items, and then when I'm planning my projects, this is super helpful to think about how those projects would fit within this list. Then on the right are colour swatches of my main and secondary colours, which is really helpful, especially when I'm choosing yarn colours that are either those exact colours or that I want to sort of harmonise with my already existing wardrobe. Milanote already has lots of inbuilt templates that can help to get you started if you're feeling overwhelmed with where to even begin planning your project. What I really love is that they have a mobile app. To me, it really takes away this overwhelming feeling of there being so much inspiration everywhere, but not being able to know what to do with it or how to practically apply it. Now, the absolute best thing about Milanote is that you can sign up for free with absolutely no time limit. You can just follow the link in my description and get started with planning out your next project. So now that you already have somewhat of a good idea of where I'm at with my personal style, we can talk about all the things that I want to actually make this summer. I just realised I didn't actually have any of the projects that I wanted to talk about with me, which isn't very helpful. The first thing that I wanted to make this summer, I have actually already made because I got so excited and we had like a week of heat wave here and I thought, wow, it's summertime, which clearly wasn't the case because it's now really miserable. But I made the Lemontini top by Blue For You. I saw an Instagram reel pop up of this and I thought instantly, that's a bit of me, I need to make that. And I made it with a mercerized cotton by Linda Hobby, I think. I'll insert the exact name here. And this is how it turned out. So it has sort of like a boat neck design and then I-cord straps, and then it is backless. Hold on, it's all scratched together. Yeah, it's backless and it ties together with the straps, which I really liked. So yeah, it kind of comes up low and then yeah, it ties here. And the reason why I really like that is that I often struggle with knitted tops not being fitted enough or kind of fitting a bit weirdly, whereas with this one I can tie it as tight as I want. And I also added some short rows so there's room for my bust and I can then tie it so it sits nicely here rather than being like loose, which with strappy tops I can't deal with that. Strappy tops for me need to be tight, and that is the case with this one. I also just happened to have the perfect color combo, like this blue with the sort of khaki green strap. It was just so nice. I had to make a few changes to the back stitches pick up. Like I had to pick up less stitches because I didn't want it to be loose at the back, I wanted it to be tight, so I had to frog it back. What I liked about this design, or how the designer was sort of styling it, was that you purposefully visibly see the bikini strap underneath. In the summer I wear a lot of bikini tops as bras because they just look nicer when they peek out under sort of revealing tops, and this is sort of purposefully built to show off your bikini top, so I can get away with wearing my bikini out and about because it's sort of meant to be that kind of beachy vibe. I actually saw another top that I think will be super quick, super fun to make, and actually really wearable for me as well, and that is the Tide top by Lison Knits. I'm so sorry if I'm saying that wrong. I don't think that sounds correct. But yeah, the Tide top is just a very simple v-neck halter neck top, and this is actually already something that I wear a lot, or that I really like to wear in the summer. I like to get my back tattoo out any chance that I get, so this again seems really good for that. And yeah, I have some more of this khaki yarn, so I could probably just make a green one of that, and then I can just wear a triangle bikini underneath, and then it will look really cute. Looking at the gauge, actually I don't think this yarn matches it, but I could possibly have a little play around with adjusting the pattern to fit my gauge. But what I do like is that the sizing of this seems very wide, like there's 11 sizes, which is really good, and my bust size fits perfectly in the middle of one of those sizes, so that's also really good. So yeah, I have found that I always like having just a simple pattern that I can follow, where I don't necessarily have to use my brain too much because the pattern is easy and I don't have to like figure out fit and construction and stuff as I would with my own patterns. Then I am also currently working on the Novice Slipover. I keep calling it the Novice Vest, but it is the Novice Slipover by Petite Knit, and this is where, God, it's all tangled. This is where I am at with that. So I'm just working the bottom here, which is quite boring. I think I'm kind of waiting to finish this at maybe like a knit club, because that's where I finish like all of my sort of boring projects where I'm just going round and round. So yeah, I haven't really been working on it that much, but yeah, it's a pretty simple, straightforward pattern. It's really easy. I would say it's very beginner friendly as well. And for the yarn, I'm using the Drops Merino Extra Fine and Drops Kid Silk, I think. And I'm making this for my mum for my mum's birthday. She asked for this specifically. She sent me a photo of her wearing a pink vest in a shop, and she said, I really like this, can you make me one? And I was trying to like replicate the colorway, but it's so hard when you're buying yarn online, and I just really wanted to start here. I didn't want to have to walk around town trying to find this exact yarn combination. So it's not 100% similar to the yarn combo that my mum sent me. I actually think the Kid Silk is really close to it, but then the merino turned out more like purplish. But then I went back online again because I thought maybe I'll send this one back and change it out. But they all kind of look really purple then, or like even more purple than this one. And even when I went on Ravelry to have a look at the projects that other people made with this yarn colorway, it didn't look like this. So I think it's just a hard color maybe to photograph or whatever. I do think the color combo is really nice. It's just not like as sort of light pink blush as I wanted it to be. This is more like cool toned, I guess. But yeah, just gonna work to the bottom, do the hem, the cuffs, the neckline, pretty straightforward. I'm going to Germany at the end of June, so I do kind of need to finish this in like a week or two. I just realised that actually I have kind of put this on the back burner for a bit, but I just probably should get on with it and finish it. Then I'm not going to talk about this one for too long because it's boring and I keep banging on about it all year. I do want to make another one of my birthday bags, but this time a scrappy one. I made a scrappy one for my mum's birthday last year, and then since then have always said that I'll do like a free pattern for it. So I made this bag, which I also really love, but it's just kind of awkward to make the pattern. I think I'm also just like not really paying attention to it or like putting my whole like focus on it, if I'm being completely honest. So I think I'm gonna have to make another one. I have a bunch of cotton scraps, so I'll do another scrappy one, and I will probably have to slightly disassemble this because I need to weigh the yarn. If anyone has any tips on weighing yarn when it's like multiple colors, I'm really stumped. I feel like I'm missing a trick or something. But yeah, my plan is to just unravel the sort of outer blue layer, and then at least I can weigh that, and then I'll do another bag for the tutorial, because I want to do a tutorial alongside the free pattern, but I've like now made this bag without filming any of it, so I need to make another one, which is fine. I love doing granny squares, especially scrap yarn granny squares. They're so fun, like seeing all the colorways work up and getting creative with color combinations. But making 3 of these bags is a bit like repetitive, you know? And something I've been weirdly inspired by recently that I can sort of sense is going to maybe impact my projects coming up. I don't know, there's quite like a new recent sort of inspiration, and sometimes it takes a bit of time for me to manifest it into actual projects, so I don't know what's going to come from it. But I've been really inspired by kiln rugs. I always say kiln, but some people say kiln. I don't know. But these sort of rug designs, the colorways, the geometric shapes, I do think some of it is coming also from my recent sort of interest and research into quilting, which I really love also for the colors, the simple patterns, the shape, just the sort of folk arty vibe about it. Yeah, I found specifically in sort of rug tapestries and these sort of floral designs, whether I kind of take some of these motifs into creating some color work designs or the colorways specifically. I think I very much have like a colorway that I tend to go for, and I think that's great. Like, I know very much visually what I like, but I want to also experiment with different ways, still kind of fitting in with the color scheme that I have established within my personal style, but then kind of getting creative with how that is applied. I also think the sort of quilt, kiln, rug inspiration more deeply stems from the time I've spent outside doing the garden, looking at flowers, at plants, their sort of geometric shapes. I think that's really then showing up in my more creative fiber arts inspirations, and just generally I find I have like a longing to be more in nature and feeling a lot more inspired by nature, and I do think visually this is all making a lot of sense of like why I'm inspired by certain things. If you've watched a few of my videos, you know I do these kind of like project plan roundups ahead of every season, and I would really encourage you to do the same. You don't have to post it on the internet like I do, but to just kind of keep a log seasonally of things you're inspired by. I started out very literal, and I do think my list still is very literal by projects that I like, but looking at colorways that you like, patterns that you like. And I think for me over time I've really found a theme and sort of similarities through each season, or now also I'm able to look back on last summer. I don't think my style has changed whatsoever since last summer, which I like. That's what I want it to be. I want to feel very like grounded in the way that I'm dressing, and have found that practice to be super helpful in like now being able to dive into even deeper themes, like that sort of theme of nature and the colours that I see out in nature, the colours that I choose to plants in my garden are informed by the colours that I already like, but they also inform all the colours that I then choose for other things, you know? It all goes round in a circle. I do have to do maybe a little self-plug here at this point. I don't know if I'm going to knit another one of these, but my little bow tee pattern is coming out at some point. I really hope at some point this month in June. The testing period is done. I just want to kind of tweak a few sizing issues that I found, but if you are looking for a very summery, flowy, airy top to make in the summer, then maybe this is one for you. It's quite hard to see because I'm sitting down, but this is how it looks. It's quite flowy at the bottom here, and it has a v-neck, which I quite like. It's covered up by the bow, so you're still decent, you know. And it has some cute little cap sleeve. That's why I want to change for some of the larger sizes. The cap sleeves only came up to like here, but I wanted to make more of a baby tee feel. It's not really baby tee because it's, yeah, a cap sleeve, but I just thought I would mention it because I haven't really mentioned it too much over the last couple months because it has been in testing and don't really have anything to say about the pattern until it comes out. So that will be out at some point. I haven't actually really worn it that much yet because it's either too cold to wear it, or like I said, we had this like random heat wave and it was way too hot to wear it. To be fair, it's very breathable, like it's a very nice yarn combination and I could have worn it. It's just that when it's really hot out, I tend to just like wear the least amount of clothing as I possibly can. So I'm hoping for like a nice 17-18 degrees so I can wear this with some jeans. You know, that's the vibe I'm hoping for. Then I have really been eyeing up this sundress knitting pattern by Tueto Design. Again, don't think that's how you say it. I always find it really difficult to pronounce names because I have like the German pronunciation and the English one in my head. I'll say it English because I speak English, but I also know like some Scandinavian names are probably closer to the German pronunciation, but then I don't want to get it completely wrong and sound like an idiot, you know? But yeah, this is actually very similar to the tied top in that it is a v-neck halter neck. Very much the silhouette that I like. I rarely, well never really wear a v-neck. Even here I'm then covering, but if I do, I like it to be a halter neck. For some reason I find that works quite well for my body structure, I don't know. But this also just looks really nice around the body. It looks tight around the back, which I like, and then yeah, it looks like it flares out maybe a little bit for an A-line shape, which I do like. It only comes in 3 sizes, which is a little tricky. I don't think it really tells you what the sizes equate to. I don't know. So this might have to be a little adjustments moment, which I personally am fine with. But also talking about dresses, I have also been eyeing up possibly doing a crochet dress. The only reason why I'm maybe unsure about whether I will actually do this or not is that I don't have a specific pattern for it, and I don't know if I want to take on another self-drafting project this summer just because I have so much pattern writing, self-drafting plans already. I want to actually also be able to give myself the break from doing that all the time. But this dress specifically I think was already on my inspiration board last year or maybe even the year before. I just really like this sort of simple strapped straight down A-line shape moment. A-line shapes for me, as soon as it gets to the bottom half of my body, is an absolute must. I really liked this one from, what's the brand? I did see it the other day. It's by Baum und Pferdgarten, which weirdly is a Scandinavian brand, even though it's a German name. Very random. But yeah, I really like the sort of horizontal stripes at the front and then vertical stripes along the sides. I think it breaks it up really nicely, and I think it gives it a really nice chance. I can't really see it there because she's sitting down, but it gives it a really nice chance to again make it A-line. There are also these crochet dresses by a brand called Eilish Studio, which have a very similar feel with the stripes. These ones have a v-neck and this kind of collar. I think I would be more inclined to maybe make one if I was going on a hot beach holiday this year, which I'm not. I don't know realistically. I would probably still wear it, to be fair. You just have to put some shorts and a top underneath, but yeah, it's a cute idea. I feel like that's one of those that has been festering for a while. I will make it one day for sure, something inspired by this, just maybe not this season, but I wanted to share it anyways because I do always look at it and I think, God, I wish I had the time to make that. Something I put on my list very ambitiously, which I also just realistically don't know if I'm going to make it. I've ordered the yarn, I've got the yarn for it. I'll get it actually so I can show you. It is the Cotton Merino by Drops in these 2 blue tones. And what I wanted to do with these was to recreate a long sleeve dress that I made on my knitting machine years ago. For those of you who've watched my videos for a while, I am sorry, I feel like I keep banging on about these knit dresses that I made on my knitting machine years ago, but they do still to this day influence a lot of design decisions that I make. But I wore it again the other day and I posted about it, and I always get questions about patterns for things that I have made on my knitting machine, and I've always been not interested in doing that because it's just such a different process. But that A-line dress in particular I really love. I love wearing it, I love the shape of it, and the construction of it is simple enough that it would be easy for me to replicate it with hand knit. It's just the gauge on that dress is so small, or like the stitches are so small, that I wouldn't recreate it exactly like that. So this is like the smallest that I think I would be happy to make such a big piece piece width, which is 21 stitches by 28 rows. I will see how I get on with it. I think that dress and that pattern is very seasonless. Like you can wear it in the summer and the spring and the winter with tights, it doesn't matter. So have less of like a time pressure on it to do it. It's something that I would really like to do and wear. I think in this blue tone, it would be really nice as well. So yeah, just a thing that I have on my list for when I do have time, but it's not something that I'm prioritizing at the moment. Then something super trendy that I just felt like I had to talk about, and that is bandanas. Bandanas have obviously been about for a while, especially for knit and crochet. People have been making patterns for them for a while. I'm only like this year really fully getting into wearing them. I'm so dependent on wearing them that I feel naked when I don't. And I also love wearing them because I get away with not having to do my hair. Got a good hair day today, but that is because I knew I was filming this, so I was putting in the effort to make my hair look nice. But I can't be asked day to day, so instead I'll pop a bandana on, put my hair into braids so that my hair's protected as well. And yeah, I love them. The only way that I like knit and crochet bandanas, or that I would make them, is if they use a fine yarn. I think the reason why these fabric bandanas work so well is because they are fabric, so they drape nicely and loosely. You don't want them to like stand up weirdly around your head, and I find that can happen when the yarn that you use for the handmade ones is too thick, and I don't love how that looks. So for some like crochet references, you want to go for like a nice lacy, open, meshy pattern, kind of filet crochet, but making sure you're using a really lace fingering weight type yarn. A pattern that I actually really like for that is the bandana scarf by Two Crochet Girls. The yarn is actually, it's a fingering yarn, so it's fairly thin, but the texture of it looks nice and loose, and I really like how the bandana actually drapes around the head. I think that's the kind of fit that I would be looking for. I also found this netty scarf by Lily Kate France. No one's actually wearing this around the head, I don't think, but I think that could be a really nice head bandana. I took a screenshot of this designer's Instagram story. Again, I don't know how to say her name, I'm so sorry. But I think that really represents the sort of fit of a bandana really well, is how tightly it kind of like drapes around her head and frames her hair really nicely, rather than like being stuck. Then something that I actually haven't put on my to-do list, but that is like living my head rent-free, and that is to make a mini skirt. I love wearing mini skirts in the summer, especially now that I have more like tattoos. I love to get them out and show them off. So I found a few that I really like. It's so funny because I found mostly knit skirt patterns, and then I was like, God, I really need to include some crochet ones for the crochet people out there. I was going through Ravelry and I was like, oh, I don't know, nothing's really like sticking out to me. None of these are really something that I'd make. And then I saw my own skirt pattern on there and I realized, oh, I forgot, I also made a skirt pattern. But that one's more of like a filet crochet see-through one, but this year specifically, because again, I'm not going on a beach holiday, I'm not walking around with my cheeks hanging out, am I? So I'm looking at more like coverage skirts. One crochet one though that I did really like, it's not a mini skirt, but I think it can be adjusted really nicely, or also if you know you have the patience to do a maxi one, I would make this one. It's the Fibonacci pattern by Anna Erlandson. There we go. I'm really struggling with names today. But I love the low rise, first of all. I like how sort of it falls off the hips really nicely. And then the stitch pattern is so nice. It's a granny stitch, which I love doing, very addictive. And it flows so nicely. I love how the triangle shape grows and grows and grows at the bottom. Like it just creates such a beautiful visual texture. But then for mini skirts, unfortunately, I only have knit patterns. The first one is by Tuva Sandok, the knitted skirt. Again, I always do look for a low mid-rise. I'm not a high waist girly at all. It does say it has short rows on the back and increases on each side. The only thing that I would be worried about is that the short rows maybe wouldn't be enough for my body. I have a lot of hip to accommodate for, so maybe this would need a bit more adjusting. This one's kind of similar, but this is a stripe design by Layla and Neela. The Premier skirt, again low rise, nice little flared out A-line shape, very cute. I would definitely make this. Another one is the Dream Wrap Skirt by Wool and Beyond. This one's a little bit different because, like it says in the name, it's a wrap skirt, so maybe a little bit warmer than the other ones. Definitely not one that I would wear when it's 30 degrees out, but definitely one I'd wear when it's 20 degrees out. This would be so cute. There's a pretty good size range here as well, so that would definitely entice me. I don't know if it's too high waist though. I don't know. But yeah, there's some options here if you also want to be making a mini skirt this summer. Then I have spoken about this before as well. I can't remember which seasonal video it was, which year it was, but a little sewing / crochet DIY to make a filet crochet yoke to then attach to a white bit of fabric to turn into a dress. Very relevant to my personal style mood board that I've made. Lots of white frilly things on there, and the reason why I thought of it recently is because I went back through the antique pattern library looking for some filet crochet designs, and I came across a filet crochet yoke specific pattern book that I have definitely seen about on Pinterest, like screenshots of it, and yeah, it just reminded me how fun and simple but very like breathtaking of a DIY that is. And I have a shit ton of white fabric scrap laying about that I could turn into a dress or a top. Don't know if I'll have time for it, but if I fancy a little DIY moment, then I would definitely be making this for sure. All right, last thing, a little bit more random and abstract, but I really need to use up a bunch of my small buttons. Let me grab my button box actually. So I showed in one of my recent vlogs that I got this sewing box, and within it is a little section where I put all of my buttons. I got these in a charity shop, and they're just like this collection of small buttons, and I have never used any of these buttons. I need to start. I do keep seeing so many lovely button designs, but for some reason none of them like make me want to do them, and I don't want to make a project just to use up the buttons if that means I don't end up wearing it. Letting that kind of fester for a moment, having a think, manifesting that the right project will come at the right time. It always does. If anyone has any suggestions for small button projects, do let me know. I feel like a lot of them are very similar, and like I said, none of them really like, I don't know, grabbed my attention. So if you can think of anything more creative, let me know. I'm sure there's things that I haven't thought of yet. Just something that I'm kind of keeping in mind as I am planning my summer projects. I'm kind of always like thinking of things I want to do and then thinking, could I integrate buttons somehow? Usually the answer is no, which is why I still have so many buttons. But yeah, that is everything that I want to knit and crochet this summer, or just everything that has been on my mind recently that I have been inspired by. And like I said, that is then in total informing all the decisions that I'm making. As always, let me know what your plans are this summer. I always discover so many patterns that I've never heard of before when you guys share them in the comments, so definitely let me know. I also feel like I haven't really made a pattern project specific video in a while, and I'm so out of touch with what you guys are all making, so yeah, just let me know. I'd love to hear. So yeah, other than that, I will hopefully see you in the next video, and until then, goodbye.